Hello, and welcome to Thought for the Day for today, Wednesday, the 18th of August. Today we're going to be looking at a chapter from the book of Proverbs in the Old Testament. That's chapter 9. And it contrasts wisdom and folly. And it does this by portraying wisdom and folly, each as a woman with a house seeking to attract simple, innocent people into it, and pointing out the differences between their two approaches. And it starts like this, and I'm going to paraphrase the text slightly to bring out the meaning a bit more clearly. Wisdom has built her house with 7 pillars, and apparently this just means that the house is large and robust. She's also well organized, and it goes on like this. She has prepared her meat and selected her wine. She has also set her table. She has sent out her servants with invitations to everybody in the city. Let all who are simple come to my house. To those who have yet to learn good sense, she says, come and eat my food, drink my wine. Leave your immature ways, and you will live. Walk instead with wisdom and discernment. The writer then gives some examples of what wise behavior looks like in practice. Whoever corrects a mocking person invites insults. Whoever rebukes a wicked person is liable to receive abuse. Do not rebuke scornful people, or they will hate you. Rebuke the wise, and they will love you. Instruct the wise, and they will be wiser still. Teach the righteous, and they will add to their learning. And then we get one of the most famous lines in the Bible, which occurs here as well as in Psalm 111. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And it continues. And knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. For through wisdom your days will be many, and years will be added to your life. If you are wise, your wisdom will reward you. If you are a mocker, you alone will suffer. The writer now turns to describe foolishness like this. Folly is an unruly woman. She is simple and knows nothing. She sits at the door of her house on a seat at the highest point of the city. And apparently this probably means that she is unfaithful, always just looking for the wrong sort of attention. She calls out to those who pass by, who go straight on their way, let all who are naive or lack judgment come to my house. To those who have no sense, she says, stolen water is sweet. Food eaten in secret is delicious. But little do they know that the dead are there, and that her guests are deep in the realm of the dead. So in this passage, the writer calls simple people, as the translation puts it, that is, people who are immature, inexperienced, naive or lacking judgment, beginner Christians, if you like, not to be seduced by folly, but to choose wisdom instead. And wisdom starts with fearing the Lord. When I started as a Christian, I found it really difficult to see why we should fear God. Surely we've been told God is gentle and loving. So where does fear come in? It's interesting that the concept of fearing God appears many, many times in the Old Testament, but really very rarely, only once, in the New Testament. So why is this? Well, the Old Testament is the story of the Jewish people in the early stages of getting to know their God. They are having to learn that this one God is immeasurably bigger and more powerful than any gods they have previously contemplated, that he needs to be taken seriously. So we, when we first come to know God, should be in awe of his majesty and power. We should be in fear of his judgment on our lives. We need to come with reverence before we can appreciate the softer and more compassionate side. I remember when I was a teenager at school, we had a new English teacher, and he started the year being extraordinarily strict with us. We didn't like it very much, but he certainly called us to order. And the result was that our lessons were incredibly productive and very rewarding. We knew we couldn't mess with him, so we simply got on with learning to appreciate what he had to teach us. And the result, rather wonderfully, was that a year or so later we respected him enormously and came to like him, become very fond of him. We also learnt a lot, and we developed far more than we would have done with somebody who had a softer touch. So fear, reverence, awe, serious respect is a necessary start if we are to learn, to grow, and to develop a proper relationship with God. Another way of looking at this idea of fearing God is perhaps in an analogy with surfing. A couple of weeks ago we were in Cornwall. When the surf is good, the waves are enormous, quite intimidating. And it's right that the first thing a surfer learns, should develop, is a healthy fear of these gigantic waves. They are fearful because they can easily overpower us, but they are also beautiful. They're worthy of respect, but in due course, once we learn how to work with them, they can be great fun. I'm not a good surfer, but I can understand how the initial fear turns into a really rich and challenging relationship. A good surfer will always respect the far greater power and depth of the waves, but will also want to learn from them and relish the struggle of doing so as they develop. So perhaps in a similar way, the fear of God really can be the beginning of wisdom and the start of a rich and rewarding life of growth. Returning to the passage in Proverbs, contrast this picture of wisdom with Lady Folly, as she is often known, in the second section of this chapter. Unlike the woman who is wisdom, who we looked at a moment ago, Folly has not prepared her meat or selected her wine. She does not invite her guests to attend, but simply sits at the door and tries to tempt them in a most irresponsible way. Instead of encouraging them to develop wisdom or discernment, she entices them, saying that stolen water is sweet and food eaten in secret is delicious. In other words, encouraging them to pursue dishonest and covert pleasures rather than develop sensibly and wisely. Which do we choose? The quick fix of folly, stolen goods and secret pleasures, which we don't share with others, or a more honest and open life where we are open to discipline, where we grow and develop through giving and accepting guidance and criticism? I don't know how this applies in your life or in any individual's life. We all have different challenges and temptations to face. But it comforts me to be reminded that to fear God is a good start to sorting out our lives and is indeed the beginning of wisdom. So may we all choose to act wisely today. Thank you.